Hello and welcome to Beyond the Blueprint podcast. I'm your host, Jeff O'Donnell. Today I'm joined by John Hughesman, founder of Hughesman Concepts in Ely, Minnesota. John has spent over 3 decades blending raw, old world craftsmanship with high-end architectural design. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
You're very welcome. So, John, your origin story is pretty incredible. You moved to the deep woods at 20 years old, living in a remote cabin with no running water or electricity, peeling massive red pine logs with draw knives for $90 a month. What was the exact spark that turned that solitary artistic lifestyle into building multi-million-dollar custom homes?
Well, I don't think there was an exact spark. I don't think that I have a typical story. I think I just sort of did whatever I did, and life just happened to me. And so I lived in the woods for a while when I first moved up there, up to Ely. I'm not in Ely now, so when I first moved there, and I was peeling logs for some log builders, and I ended up meeting my wife, and we decided to make a go of it there, and so we started building our own log home. This was back in the early 80s. Log homes were kind of a big thing back then. These were big log homes that were what we called hand-scribed log homes. We scribed and cut each log with a chainsaw to fit them together and stuff. So that was kind of a dream. That's sort of part of what I wanted to do in life, was to build a log home. So we started that, and so my log home that I built ended up being the first of many projects. And so after I got through that, I was doing the same type of work then for others. I worked for some other contractors for a while, and then after our first kids started being born, I decided to try and take it up a notch and see what I can do. And those were the early days. Again, there was not a lot of, it was sort of a depressed area up there, depressed mining area at the time. And then over the years, log buildings became more popular, but then eventually became less popular. And we sort of switched as my business grew a little bit, and we switched into other types of construction as well. I even did some commercial projects in town and things like that. And then the area started picking up a little bit in terms of lake property and things like that. It sort of worked out well for me in that case. But I never became super successful. At one point, I think I had a couple different crews of carpenters, subcontractor carpenters, going on a couple different projects at a time, but at the most I probably did two homes a year and various other remodel projects too. But and for the first 10 or 15 years I was doing most of the work, or a lot of the work anyway, myself, and then eventually I just started becoming more of the guy that is doing estimating and talking to people and doing drawings, CAD drawings in the early days of CAD, but doing sketches and ideas and planning and things, and then I ended up having a couple of good guys working that stuck with me. They came on early, and they kind of took care of things, and I was able to focus on the contracting part of it more, and so it just sort of evolved. There was no like spark. One day I woke up and I remember when my first kid was born, I decided I better do something. But I didn't know that this is what it would be. So.
Right. Well, that's still quite a story, John. It sounds like a little bit of one for sure. Yeah, just all the different things that you've kind of done and experienced and gone through. Like, is there a favorite part of what you were doing that is your favorite, or is it just kind of going with the flow and moving on through different phases?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I guess early on I was really enjoyed the work part of it. It was hard work. We were outside. We I remember putting logs together with high lines between trees and all kinds of equipment we'd rig up to put logs together and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and cutting the logs, chainsaws, and and that was fun.
Yeah.
After a while, I got into the more I don't know about creative part of it, but more design work, and and I got to where I really enjoy the process of talking to people and starting the projects and things like that. I never thought that would be my thing, but now looking back, it seems like what I really enjoy now is having conversations with homeowners
Yeah.
and 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 the subcontractors and everybody involved in just the process of constructing something and working with everybody to sort of make it happen. It's been fun. The favorite parts have changed. Um,
Right.
so
They've
yeah,
evolved over time.
yeah, for sure.
Very nice.
And of course, I'm not young and strong anymore. So I don't know if I'll ever pick up a chainsaw and carve a big log again. But we don't do much of that anymore.
Right. Right.
Sometimes I think I'd still like to build a log cabin in the woods like I wanted to do when I started, but I maybe that ship has sailed. I don't know.
Well, you never know. Um,
Yeah,
so on that topic, though, or on that note, you've done everything from chainsaw carving logs to mastering advanced CAD design programs, like you said, like chief architect. So how do you balance the rigid digital logistics of modern project design with the free-flowing creativity of a classic wood carver?
well, I don't know about. Yeah, I'm not sure about balancing, but it's just like balancing everything else. I guess I do. I just do a lot of different things, and over the years I've even built cabinets and I've done stone masonry work and just about everything involved with the construction process. So
Oh wow!
I feel like I've gotten a good knowledge of how things work, which helps me in the design part of it because I'm always trying to think of how this is going to be built
Right.
and nowadays the CAD programs are so advanced that you can actually put every stick of framing in place and actually build it on the computer, which is kind of fun. The early CAD programs were a lot different
Yeah.
and I've built pretty elaborate things just off of scratching on paper too, back in the day. But the cabins were simpler back then, the lake cabins we were building.
Right.
So balance, I don't know. I just sort of do what I have to do, wake up in the morning and embrace the day, I guess.
Yeah. Very nice. That's good. So you've taken a very unique path as a contractor. You've never advertised, you don't put your name on your truck, and you never borrow money operating entirely cash out of pocket. In an industry obsessed with scaling up, why was keeping your footprint small and debt free the right move for your life?
Well, I guess I just never really thought about success in terms of it's not really what I wanted. I never really wanted to be. Looking back, I could have done things a lot differently and made a lot more money for sure. And sometimes I regret that. Maybe I could have borrowed some money and scaled up or done some things, but I tried to be, I just stay grounded, I guess, and I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but I've never missed a kid's hockey game or figure skating event or anything like that. I've not that I'm a
Nice.
great dad, but I've been able to do those sorts of things and um so I never really thought of being successful in the way that I see other people on the internet, young people nowadays wanting to be super successful
Right.
and so now that I'm older, sometimes I wish I had a little bit more of that drive in me, but mostly I wanted to live day to day and not get too stressed out, not create too much stress for myself, and try and pay the bills and keep the kids fed and do what I need to do to get through it all. And um, it's gone okay for me. So
Yeah. No, I think that's very important, though. I think the family side of things is huge, and I think a lot of people miss out on that stuff, and tend to regret that later too. So I think there's a balance somewhere in between. But I think you've done a great job. Um, Now, you're currently starting an incredibly unique $2 to $3 million home out in the middle of the woods while simultaneously balancing a massive backlog of legacy callbacks from the last 25 years. With a tight elite crew of just two guys, how do you manage that scheduling friction when a short northern Minnesota building season forces you to beat the winter freeze?
well, we just um, like I say, the guys are good guys, and we take what we can. To some degree, we've had to scale back a little bit lately and not take on some of these jobs. Um, but I want to also leave the guys in a situation where they can continue after I'm no longer a contractor, because they're 10, 15 years younger than I am. They have some time left, and they want to keep doing this.
Right.
So so I want to make sure that none of our past clients are upset with me or anything like that. So I want to keep everybody happy.
Yeah.
Um, I am on the current project. I'll probably be using a little bit more of some outside framing crews and things, just because of the size of the project. So there will be a little bit of that happening to help us along, and that will help. That will allow us to finish the project we're on currently, as well as take care of some loose ends that are you can't stop the callbacks from trickling in, and you want to take care of, especially the. I've worked for some really good people over the years, good clients, and you just don't want to leave them hanging. So you try and do what you can.
Yeah.
Um, it's not always easy, but we.
Right. Do you do that often
Oh,
then? Do you it sounds like you probably don't go outside for other help very often, do you?
I have for a while. I was doing. There was a few other subcontracting crews, carpentry crews working back in the '90s and even early 2000s. For some reason, they all decided, or they, I think, as the economy got better and things, they all were able to sort of find their own work on their own, and
Right.
so that opportunity got less and less. Um, and so I haven't been doing much of that for a while, but right now I'm exploring how a small crew can get a larger project done, and I wasn't sure it was this large of a project when I got into it, and so I have discussions with the guys often on, you know, what their thoughts are as to how we can proceed and get this done and things like that. And one of the ways to do that is to try and find um, some help from outside and finding, as you know, talking to other contractors, finding good help and really
Yeah.
competent crews and crews that can work with us in the way that we work. Um,
Right.
it's not difficult, but it's a challenge to do that. So, and most of the guys are a little bit older, and um, but over the years I've made contacts, and there's crews out there, and so I'm gonna explore those ideas going forward for this particular project, and probably this will be my last project as a contractor. I may still, I'm not sure what form um, my business will take going forward, but
Right.
I think as a contractor, I will be largely done with that sort of thing.
Right. And ready for your next chapter in life then too, right?
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I've never known what the next chapter is, and I just keep going, and it seems to work out okay. So I'm hoping that trend continues,
Absolutely.
but eventually it won't, and I'll die. So
Yeah, our fate. All of us have the same fate eventually. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So you mentioned your crew isn't formally trained in construction. They're guys who can figure out sheetrocking on YouTube and take extreme care because they don't know any other way. How has hiring for team chemistry and problem solving rather than formal trade school experience changed the quality of what you build?
Well, I think that's really everything in any business. If I were to start any business, I don't think I would look for people who are necessarily, I've had young people come to me right out of carpentry school or something, and not that that doesn't exclude them from consideration, but it doesn't really win any points with me. The best guys I've had or seen are guys that were just for whatever reason very competent in putting things together and figuring out what needs to happen and
Mm,
figuring out ahead of time, several steps ahead of time, if you're going to do this, how is that going to affect, down the line? If you're framing a wall, how does that affect the sheetrock? Because
right.
if you have a group of framers come in, a lot of times, you got to start fixing studs because they're just slamming things together, and now you got sheetrock guys coming in, and sheetrock guys are missing that wire that the electricians left in the wall. So you need to have a conversation with the electricians. Everybody needs to be talking to each other, and so for whatever reason, the guys I have and myself, I don't have a college education. I've never had any training whatsoever, other than some guy showing me how to pick up a log scriber and a chainsaw and figure out how to do this. So we all just sort of figured it out on our own. And most of this was before YouTube, really.
Right.
It's only been fairly recently that we've got into, you know, more sheetrock work and things like that. For a long time, it was all, a lot of 1x6 tongue and groove pine, a lot of things like that. Um, so the sheetrocking thing is probably only in the last 20 years or so, and fortunately there have been resources that you could find that would help you figure out how to do that a little better. But even without that, I'm sure these guys would have, it's just a matter of, back then we read books. You'd buy a book on carpentry if you didn't know how to do it. So
Right.
so so I still have a lot of those books on the shelves.
Nice. And I guess that, like you said, you've said it a couple of times, communication is key throughout the whole process, I'm guessing.
For sure, yeah, and then so I've got electricians and plumbers and concrete guys. Everybody's groups of guys that converse. We talk to each other. We don't. It's not like the electrician comes in and just starts taking up space where he can. He's going to have a conversation with the plumber and figure out where this stuff's going to go, where we can all be happy. So, and we all know each other. We've known each other for 20 or 30 years. So
Oh,
so
nice.
it's and some of those guys in a small town, they went to kindergarten together. Some of these
Oh,
guys,
wow.
or some of the electricians went to school with my kids. So
Wow.
it's a yeah, it's a interesting way of working. And
Right.
I have a home that I live part time now in the city in St. Paul too, and I really think that if I were in the city, I probably would not have been doing what I'm doing. I don't know where my life would have gone, but it would have probably been a whole different direction, because it's just the environment there and the time and the place that made it available to me, and
Right.
made it work so that I can be successful because of the small town atmosphere.
Nice. That's very nice. So, John, for people who want to see what true uncompromised custom home design looks like up north, where can they find Hughesman Concepts?
Well, the website hughesmanconcepts.com is the website. That's another thing I've done over the years, is built websites, and that's gotten easier too. So they can go there. They could find me on Instagram. I'm not hard to find. just searching for my name in Minnesota would probably, I know there's other John Hughesmans out there in the world, but
Right.
I never spent a lot of time with search engine optimization or anything. If somebody comes to Ely and types in contractors, I'm probably going to be at the top of the page there somewhere. Not anymore. Google puts everybody up ahead of you,
Right.
yeah. So and then I have websites for my other. I do some drawings and artwork and things like that too, wood carving and stuff. So I have another john-hughesman.com with those types of things, which are not business related necessarily, but if someone's interested in finding what else I do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you so
And
much.
yeah, Instagram and Facebook and Threads and Blue Sky and all those things you can find me. Pinterest, so.
Very nice, very nice. Well, incredible perspective on you, John. That is actually all we have for this episode of Beyond the Blueprint. Massive thank you to John Hughesman for sharing his operational blueprint. It was a true pleasure.
Great to be here.
So I am your host, Jeff O'Donnell, and we hope to catch you on the next one.